My name is Viktor. I did not expect. Maybe you came to Christian, and sorry, we will talk about MCP and some other GenAI stuff, whatever reason. First question: who attended yesterday keynote about MCP? Like everyone or a couple of people? Okay, good. So you already know something, but some people still don't understand what exactly MCP, generative AI agents at all. And sometimes I get some, like, I'm working for AWS, as you can see in my T-shirt. Yesterday I did not attend discotheque because just like I put in all of this, like on my T-shirt to make sure today looks good. So we will talk about GenAI. One of the feedback what I got when I talk about generative AI from AWS that we in AWS sometimes too much pushing like, hey, let's go to Bedrock and doing some stuff. For that reason, I decided to make my presentation a little bit longer. I'm truly sorry if I would speak very, very quickly, but I have a lot of materials. I want to show you as much as I know. And also, I'm going to show you a couple of the demo. Two of them would be a live demo. I hope everything would work. So if you attend my first session today at Kubernetes, so one of the demo didn't work. But yeah, so live demo is usually a live demo. So let's start. What we have. A couple years ago, like 2 years ago, ChatGPT or LLM appeared on the world and everyone started to use. But what exactly LLM is? So when we ask some like super simple question, for example, what is the capital of Poland? For sure, LLM will help us to say, hey, it is Warsaw. Warsaw is the capital of Poland, so not a big deal. But in reality, what's happening under the hood? So LLM doesn't understand what our word means. We will translate the words to the tokens, and only based on the tokens, models would be able to help us to predict what the next word would be. What that means, I mean, like our questions, what is the capital of Poland, would be translated to some numbers, and based on this vector space, we find what is the closest and what's more based on the possibility, what's the capital of the Poland, most probably it will be Poland. So what's next happened with LLMs? The next it's appeared like multi-models. So LLMs provide for us functionality that we are not only to communicate through the text, we also can send some like images and, for example, analyze what's going on in the images, or maybe send some audio and transcribed, and again use it as is. So we have like multi-models which appeared, and we are still sending everything through the models using the tokens. But one of the problems, what happens that LLM does not have a memory, and my basic explanations for people who does not understand at all what is LLM is, I explain on the way. I don't know how old are you, but I'm like 30 plus already. I'm very old. So in when I was in university, we had a joke that I download the whole my internet to my USB stick. So you can think about the model that you truly download the whole internet to your USB stick. And now, using the prompt engineering practice, it's your unzip, unarchive method how you get this information from this USB stick. And the point here is that models does not have a memory. What this means is when we start conversation with one of you, for example, I would ask you, hey, what's the capital of the Poland? You would say, hey, it's Warsaw, and ask you the next one, what about Sweden? Most probably you, the people, and we engage in one conversation, you would say, hey, Sweden, Stockholm, like everyone understands. But in reality, when we talk with the model, all our new requests, it would be like from the scratch. So it means like when we ask what about the Sweden, most probably LLM without conversation history would say Sweden is a nice country. For that reason, for most of the applications what you're currently able to use, they have this capability to append to our previous chat, and it means like to support and save conversation style. For that reason, for example, inside an AWS, all of our Bedrock API, it's Converse API. It means like we support in this conversation way. Okay, we are growing, we are moving. What's next happened? Next happens that USB stick, it's a public of the whole internet. So our model, it's our USB stick with the whole internet information. But what about my personal information? Just for example, inside in my company, I have a process how to deliver products or how to proceed with new customers or whatever. So for that reason, in the world, like in the AI world, appeared RAG, retrieval augmented generation, where we store our private information, and for sure we store it in some vector databases and using semantic search to find some closest chunk of information. So for that reason, I say here that when I, as a user, ask something, I would connect to RAG and make some enrich of my context and have bigger context what's going on. So this is how extended. The next step has happened that we add some functionality because the model doesn't have access to the internet, to what's going on. For example, what's the weather today in Krakow, for example. For that reason, we added like some functions, external tools. And that's what we can call like agent in general. So when we have some tools, functionality, access to external world, so we have access to our internal knowledge like RAG, we have conversations, history, and so on. And now I see more and more people started to implement memory. Memory is like a little bit separate part of your generative AI agents where you store this, not like conversation style, but you store the previous interactions with the agent. And after one agent appeared, what's next happened? For sure, we want to grow. We want to add more functionality, multi-agents. So why does this happen? Let's not like true production case, but let's review on the case. So for example, I decided to implement in my company some HR agent. And the first goal for my HR agents would be time of actions, like how many days I have in this year, maybe sick leave, vacations, whatever. I have access to some databases and so on. The next I decide, okay, that's not enough. I want to extend the functionality. I would love to add some HR knowledge base policy. So in AWS, we have a lot of HR policies. So I would really love to have to ask some questions. How many days in Germany I still have to go to vacation? So we decided to add my second version, some policy. The next one, for sure, I decided to extend what about leave of absence. And maybe, yes, HR policy, HR agents, maybe it would be cool to provide for people some information, how to grow, I mean like promotion, what's the salary, what's the training actions I should do, and so on. And we see the problem, which I think is very similar what's happened decade ago with microservices, with monoliths. We put the monolith as much as possible functionality, and after that we understood it's not optional, it's not optimal, and we moved and migrated to microservices. It's exactly happened with multi-agents collaborations in general. So when we have this one agent with so many functionality, what's bring us the problem? So first of all, it's very difficult to make it real. I mean, to create as a code. It's very often you can achieve the hallucinations because generative AI is still generative. For some people, it's a bug. For some people, it's a feature because sometimes generative AI can hallucinate. And when you put so many informations in one agent, I would say 99% it would be hallucinate. So what's happened next? So we decided to split our functionality and make it a separate agent. Like one of the agents would be responsible for leave of absence, another agent would be responsible for my vacations time, another agent for promotion apps, and so on. But it's not so cool because it's all of these agents are separated, are isolated. It means like we create a silos on them, and they don't have like a common observations what the person asked. And for sure, it would not be very great from user experience perspective. So this is bring us from previous slides with one agent to multi-agents. And what's if we can do on that way? So we just compact this agent and make on top of a couple of the agents, supervisory agent. And these agents can control what user ask and send to the right agents to speak about, I don't know, leave of absence or HR policy and whatever. This has bring us to multi-agents collaborations, which help us to, first of all, unified customer experience, as the second one, automate as a complex task. What that means to unified user experience? So we have only one entry point to ask many different type of the questions, like how many days I have for vacations, can I take a leave of absence, or maybe how I can promote it from senior to principal developer advocate or whatever. And one of the biggest benefits of that this is supervisor agents or whatever play a role of routing to send to the right agents, and smaller agents solve only a small part of the functionality. Microservice architecture approach, almost. So another biggest benefit of multi-agent collaborations is automated complex task. What I mean? For example, I believe most of you use ChatGPT and deep search maybe, and you saw when you ask a deep search, it scans a lot of different sources of information, collected this information and bring to you compact and very wide overview what you ask based on the questions, based on the topic, what you ask during the deep research. The same stuff we can do it in multi-agents. Like for example, I need to make a marketing plan for my company, and it would need to make like 6 different steps connected to different tools, maybe knowledge base, whatever, and so on, and make like execution plan and going through this execution plan. So, and I need to execute it. It would take like step number 1, step number 2, which under step number 1 has some like sub-steps, and so on. This has helped us to make one single entry point and doing like many different interesting stuff with multi-agent collaborations. And we come into the first demo. So I like to talking, but I'm more prefer to showing something. And before we jump in exactly to the console and showing something, let me explain what kind of scenario I'm going to show you. So I create a multi-agent. This is covered my mortgage. It's a bank, like bank assistant mortgage, whatever. So what's the functionality I'm going to cover? So I will ask questions about existing mortgage, like agent number 1, connected to database and checking what's the current status. Mortgage applications in general, if I would love to apply for a new mortgage, and maybe some general questions related to some percentage or whatever. So I have pre-recording, but I know how you prefer to do live demo, and I know how you like when some demo doesn't work. So for that reason, today I'm doing only live demo. I hope everything will be fine. So what I have currently? I'm currently in AWS console. If you're not familiar, it's AWS, and it's how it looks like Bedrock main page. So I'm in the Bedrock. Bedrock for me, it would be the place where I can run my foundations models. We supported many of them, different models, Claude, one of them from Anthropic. And for me, currently is more interesting, it's related to the agents. So it's in the builder tools sections. I'm going to the agents, but before that, I forgot. I created my knowledge base. Inside in the Bedrock knowledge base, it's a rack. So you can think about knowledge base, it's like a managed service rack. So this is where I create my knowledge base. Here we go. This is a general mortgage KB. Under the hood is a 3 bucket with some HTML files and so on. I just generated to show you as a demo. So what else I have? I have my agent. And as you can see, I have multiple agents, not only one. I have the first one, please ignore. It was created during like quick start, so on. I have 4 different agents. You remember I promised 3, but it would be 4 because the last one, it would be my supervisory agents. It would control the routing. It would control what to ask, what kind of agent is responsible for this task. So let's go to the latest one, and let's just like try to communicate with this agent. So first of all, if before we jump into the chat conversations and so on, we see some agent details, we have descriptions, we have models. As you can see, for this model, I use Sonnet 3.5. Honestly, I'm not sure it would be a good idea to use very smart and powerful enough model for supervisor, because mostly for supervisor agents, one of the main goals is to make the right decisions in routing. It's a very simple task. And in the bottom, you would see like I have multi-agent collaborations and 3 agents under the hood. So let's save it, and we will prepare my environment for this agent. And I will do a couple of the questions. Let me close this warning. So if you do not mind, I would copy-paste my prompts. So the first questions, what I'm going to ask, my balance of mortgage. Let's do it. So I just ask, what's my current mortgage balance is, and on the right side for you, you see I have traceability, and it's called existing mortgage assistant, agent number 1. That's cool, and currently I have still a lot of money for bank. Not good news for me, but anyway, so let's continue. So I decided to ask another question. So what would be the difference between fixed rate and adjustable rate mortgages? So, and as you can see, it's called another agent, which is called general mortgage questions. I hope you can see. So it's another agent what's related to my KB, to my RAC, to my knowledge base. And as you can see, it's provided for me based on some chunks of information what I store inside in an S3 bucket. I'm not going to read in details what is response. For me, just main goal to show you that we call different agents. The third question is what I would love to ask. That's let's imagine that I decided to relocate from Munich to Krakow and want to buy some flats, $300,000. I hope it will be enough, because in Munich, if you would love to buy something, you need at least 1 million euros. So here we go. It's called another agents, which is currently mortgage agent applications, and give me a plan for next 30 years. But we're talking about multi-agent collaborations. Let's ask some more complicated task. So this more complicated task, let me just run it, and we will a little bit read in detail what I ask exactly here. So I need to understand my current mortgage balance, payment schedule, compare to market rates for new mortgage, and learn about general financing process and potential benefits. And from the right side, you see the traceability of this agent. It's called three another agent, like the whole functionality what I have in these multi-agent collaborations. And I believe just in a few seconds, we would see some response. I hope so. Regularly it took around 20 seconds, but as usual, it's live demo. Something can happen. Hey, slow. Yeah, good. Everything works, so I see that my current balance is the same, 150,000, blah, blah, blah. So this is how works multi-agent collaborations. Cool, but you come for MCP, and it's that video. Let's move on. So MCP, after multi-agent collaborations, exactly the time, honestly, exactly the time. So last year and last week of November, I believe, around that's exactly the time when happened reInvent, where we announced about multi-agent collaborations inside in the Bedrock, and Anthropic presented MCP, Model Context Protocol. What exactly is this MCP is? In general, it's communication protocol. One of the biggest benefits of MCP, you can think of MCP is like a REST from web development to MCP for generative AI development. MCP brings us standardizations how exactly we communicate with our AI applications, with LLMs, and so on. And MCP stays so popular that I decided to take a screenshot what's the current state of stars if we can measure success or popularity in GitHub based on the stars. And as you can see, this red line, it's like November somewhere near the December, and they're growing. Some people, I don't know, like spend time with the family Christmas time, and then currently it's more than 50,000 stars on GitHub. It's truly impressed, and it's changed so much industry, because I don't know what's about you, but for me it's like from everywhere it was like MCP. Everyone would love to create their own MCP server. For that reason, currently you would find, I don't know, like two days ago I checked how many currently MCP exist on different marketplaces, and it was a number around 2,000 different MCP servers. And for sure, AWS also joined to this. Like create our own different MCP servers, and we currently have like huge list of different MCPs. But still, what's the main benefits? When we're talking about before MCP, and when we need to extend, for example, functionality of my agents, I would need to make these manual extensions, make a development of that, and most probably it will be duplication, especially if I have like different agents or implementations of these agents. And now I can, first of all, use unified MCP server and connect it to different, for example, part of my agents' infrastructure and functionality and so on. If you look from a high-level review, like like architecture style, where I have like circles and boxes. So before MCP, for every tool, I had to make like separate explanations how to communicate with these different tools or part of my agents. Currently, with MCP, I can connect connections between my MCP client and MCP servers, and it's standardized. But what's exactly inside in MCP? What the architecture of MCP is? So there are, I would say, 3 or even 4 main components. The first one, which is very, very important, and you should understand it, so it's MCP host. It's here. So For me, during the Neva, just like in a few minutes, it would be Amazon Q CLI, this like terminal stuff. I run Q CLI, it's like Claude Code, Gemini, you I believe heard, just like last week they announced CLI Gemini, so you can connect MCP. This is like similar. So we need something where we will be able to make the connections to our MCP service. We need MCP host. For sure, we need access to some USB stick. You remember my comparison with model is USB stick with the whole internet information. Like we need some model, like for example, Sonnet or Opus or I don't know, whatever you prefer. MCP client. MCP client this is where we will initialize the communications with our server. And inside the server, we have 3 different another components. The first one, it would be a tools. Tools, that's where we do some actions. Like for example, I got information about the weather in Krakow and doing some other, I don't know, normalizations of the data or whatever I needed, just transform from JSON to XML or whatever. I have another part, it's resources. Resources, it's access where for my MCP server, what can be the resources? You see here, it's like HTTP GET. Yes, it can be also as a part of the resources. But for example, another good example of MCP resources, it's your file system where you store your files. It's just like I also will show just like in a few minutes an example of resources and the tools and how MCP works in actions. And for sure, the biggest part is prompt. I believe all of you heard about like Cursor, different native AI tools, where I think, my personal opinion, one of the biggest value of that is they create very great stuff of prompts. And please spend the time to understand how to create a good prompt. So this is what we have. Couple disclaimers and warnings. So first of all, every MCP client can make only one connection to one MCP server. Please be aware what kind of MCP servers you use currently. As I mentioned, it's already more than 2,000 different MCP servers, but who knows what they send in out of this MCP server. And also be especially aware about remote MCP servers, because MCP out of, by default supported local MCP servers with standard in the output and remote servers. So like depends on what you have, but please be aware, currently MCP is not very secure protocol. So in general, if we make a building blocks together again, what we would see, we have our input query from our user with multi-different type of informations, just like again, text, media, whatever. And we have our model with connecting to the different MCP servers and so on. But how it works? Like I mean, like how to do something with MCP and what's kind of MCP functionality currently available. So it's time to go to second demo, and I'm going to show you multiple sub demos. So first of all, what's for me would be MCP host. I mentioned about that. That would be Q CLI. What is Q CLI? It's part of Q developer umbrella service inside in AWS, and we develop Amazon Q Developer as extension for IDE, and also have like CLI tool inside in your terminal. So I'm currently using Kitty as terminal emulator and just like run my Amazon Q. What we can see here, I have couple already MCP servers connected to my Q CLI. It's super simple. It's just like JSON file where you can configure it, what kind of tools you prefer, not tools, MCP service you prefer connected to your, for example, host, in my case, QCLI. You see I have Obsidian, I have Kubernetes. I'll show something about Kubernetes. If you attend my first talk, I love Kubernetes. And I have a couple AWS stuff for sure, like AWS Terraform and so on. Let's, again, I would use copy-pasting. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask my first question. So just in case, if you don't know, this is Obsidian. I really love Obsidian. Obsidian is like a markdown editor on steroids, and this is where I store all of my, like informations, just preparing for demo, whatever. And also I'm doing here like my to-do list, what I have to do for today, for example, and so on. And like if we look at my to-do list for today, you see I have like 4 different tasks. Some of them it's already done. And what I'm going to show you through the MCP. I ask my MCP host to help me with my Obsidian to-do list. based on my daily nodes. And what's happening currently? So what's important here? So we see that MCP host, based on the model what's available, for me, the model is available as Claude for Sonnet, decided to call a tool which is Obsidian get periodic nodes and ask me permissions. Can I do it or not? So we have 3 different options. Yes, like run only at once. T, trust and run it. So I selected T and I totally trust this tool. And this is how we see that it's called and yeah, got it. Yeah, got it. Got it.
I mean, the bottom up, so that you can see.
Yeah, I got it. I trying. It's not easy. Agents have to do it, yes, for sure, for me. I hope it will be better, yeah? So what we have, so it's said to me, hey, I already done my first talk, it's Kubernetes, whatever. I fixed a demo, so if you attend my first talk, you saw that one of the demo didn't work. So I already fixed it using Amazon Q, and I have 2 another tasks. So, but it's not the story about that. So what kind of, mistyping, tools, not tooks. Tools. What kind of MCP servers available in my case? So I have some built-in tools, which is also available inside different MCP hosts. And also I connected some MCP servers. And based on this MCP servers, one of the biggest benefits of the MCP servers is that they provided for you self-discovery. So when you have, for example, like my Obsidian MCP server, not my, it's open source, I connected Obsidian MCP server, or for example, Kubernetes, we can make self-discovery, understand what this server, MCP server can help and what can do, with definitions of prompt, with definitions of the tools what's to be available, and so on. And we see, like for example, Kubernetes supported this one, Obsidian have this one, and so on. Okay, what we can do more complicated stuff. So the second demo, and I'm going to call my Amazon Q CLI again, but in that case, as you can see, I'm going to run with trust all tools. I'm not recommend to do it in production because, as I mentioned already, you have to be aware what exactly you're running and so on. But just like for demo and speed up a bit, I trust all of the tools. What I would love to ask and what the demo would be in that case, I have Terraform code here. And this Terraform code is not very secure. If you attended the first session in this room about security, AWS, Daniel shows that security, it's not so easy and need to truly be aware what are you doing. Like don't store your credentials, don't provide a lot of permissions, and so on. So what I ask in this case, so I said, hey, MCP host, in that folder, like dot folder, it's my current folder. Can you please review and find some security issue inside in my Terraform code? And what's currently happening? So it's used a couple of the tools, just like create my file system. This is what exactly, you remember I show you that we have tools and we have resources. For me, currently, resources would be my file system with my Terraform code, what is written, what I store, for example, different like models, and so on. So this is tools to get make a list of the directory, and for example, get information from this file. But resources would be my file, what's currently based on my file system. The next happens. That's what's available inside in this tool. It's run checkoff. If you're familiar with Terraform, you know Checkoff, it's open source tool to check your Terraform based on the, regarding the security best practices and so on. And it's just like currently running and analyzing of that. So you see it's called, hey, I need to analyze the YAML policy to understand the permissions. And here we go, we got, I believe we got the final answer. So the first one, S3 bucket security issues, it's public read. So from Daniel talk, you remember, please don't ever create your S3 bucket publicly available for the whole internet. It's not very secure. So we have another different issues. I'm not going to spend with you time here. Let me show you another example. So currently, I have my Kubernetes cluster. As you remember, I love Kubernetes, and I have a couple of pods running inside in this Kubernetes cluster. One of them, based on the naming, I believe you understand what's going on. It's pending and it cannot start. The second pod, it's restarting forever and currently in a crash loopback. And what I would love to do, let me first of all run my queue chart in two different presents. And I will copy paste again my prompt for the first one and for the second one to show and speed up a little bit of our demo. And before that, I'm going to do that way. I want to show you what's the configuration in this manifest I have. Who knows Kubernetes? Who can say what's the problem? Why this pod cannot start and stay in pending state? Too much memory. Thank you. You're right. Fun story. When I show what this demo and use Carpenter, and if you're not familiar with Carpenter, it was my first talk. So Carpenter requested a node, and I was not able to show the first demo because it's bring me some powerful machine with 100 GB of memory. So fun story. Please restrict your Carpenter because otherwise it can spin up 100 GB of memory. And I have the second pod, which is currently restarting like in a loop. Who can say what's the problem with this pod? And meanwhile, I will drink a bit of water. Someone said the right word, port. Who said? Yes, you absolutely right. So I have environment variable where I defined what's the port have I used to run my application. It's 911, 111, but for Leibniz prop, I checked just the port 80. Let's go back to my demo and see, here we go. So I asked to fix the problem, and MCP, together with my MCP host, QCLI, whatever, figure out what the problem is and adjust it a bit of the size. And the second one also figure out the problem was related to the ports. We see, here we go, it's 111, and for Leibniz prop I use port 80. For that reason, Leibniz prop checks the status of my pod and just like restarting the pod. Let's quit, and I don't trust, I believe you also don't trust generative AI. Let's double check what's going on currently with my pods. Just double check that everything looks good. Yeah, here we go, it's fixed. So the first pod, pending pod currently is running. Restart pod also is running 96 seconds ago, and everything looks good. This is how we can integrate currently MCP in our daily uses for different purposes. Like I mean, like you can connect. It's video. You can connect different MCP servers in your MCP host and, for example, improve the productivity of your writing the code or debugging or whatever. Currently, it has huge power. But what if I would love develop something? I mean, like how I can connect MCP to agents, how I can create my GenAI agents with MCP. And it's the last part of my presentations. It's strength agents. What is Strength Agents? Strength Agents is open source framework from AWS. We released just 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe 4 weeks ago. It's super fresh. It's just a couple of weeks ago we released this new framework. So what the Strength Agents provide for us? Provide for us a lot of functionality, and one of the biggest benefits that you can easily start to create your generative AI agents. When I say it easy, I mean we as developers, I also as a developer, I super love to run everything on my local machine. So if I have capability to run at a local machine, I would do it on my local machine, especially if I'm doing like development stuff. I'm not going to deploy it to production and spending thousands of dollars just for experiments. If I can do it locally, that's good. So Strength Agents can run locally, I will show. And also, one of the biggest benefits is it was created in the era of MCP, and it means like out of the box, it supported MCP. What's the core component of Strength Agents? So there are 3 main components. The first one would be, again, our USB stick metaphor. It's our model. Also, we need to have prompts to define what the agents would do, what's the system prompts, what's the role playing, whatever, just like how to proceed with the request from the user. And the last one is the tools. So what about the models? What kind of the models is Strange Agents available? So it's open source. We decide, okay, we will not lock you with Bedrock. You can do whenever you want. So you can for sure use a Bedrock as API, provide access to foundations models, or maybe you prefer to run locally using Llama and run like your first agents on your powerful machine with a lot of memory. And tools, what the tools we have? So first of all, MCP native integrations, what I already talked. So also we have pre-built 20 plus pre-built tools. For example, getting current time to connect some services, memory, for example, it's available out of the box. That's pre-built tools, or you can create your own custom tool. And it's bring us to agentic loop when I, as a user, for example, ask some questions, like my prompt again to the agent, and it's connected to the model. For example, understands what I need to execute, like different tools, getting the results. Maybe I need to do something else. Again, calling, proceed with the model. Again, understands what need to do the next, and so on, so on. This is normal agentic loop, like the similar what I show you with MCP demo when I ask to troubleshoot and fix my problem, for example, with Kubernetes stuff or getting some information, whatever. How you can create your first agents? They are super simple. It's like, I would say, maximum simplified. What you can need to define. So first of all, prompt. System prompt, like how the agents would proceed with request or what need to do and so on. Also, we connect our tools. One of them, as you can see, it's out of the box pre-built tools, and also you can define your own custom tools. So custom tools can be defined in the same file as a decorator inside of the agents. It can be in decorator in a separate file. This can be in a spec. So based on the decorator, you understand that it's Python. Yeah, I know currently it's only supported Python, but in the future we already have in our backlog support JavaScript. So I believe maybe in a couple months we will see implementations of strange agents in JavaScript. Also, I did not mention, but you see the second line, it's model. I need to define what the model I would use for my strange agents. Out of the box, it supported MCP and supported in different ways. So you don't need even think about like MCP is local, MCP remote, maybe some custom transport with MCP. It supported like everything. So you just like connect your MCP server to agents and use it. Another very cool stuff that's to show you like multi-agents demo with supervisory agents. It's the first pattern where I have supervisory agents and everyone else, it's my sub-agents. So in Strange Agents, we supported different patterns of implementations, multi-agents collaborations. So you can do it's super easiest way, Strange Agents, agents as a tool. You can do a swarm, you can do a graph where you have a logic of movement, or if you have very strict defined business workflow, you can also define it and use it in multi-agent collaborations. What about deploy my agent? How I can deploy my first agent? Viktor, you promised to me to run locally, and yes, that's true. You can run everything locally. So the first implementations of running the agents would be everything local. I mean, you have your agents with the tools. If you have access to your model, like for example through the Llama or whatever you use locally, you can do it. So you can run and invoke and use these agents locally 100% without even deploying somewhere else. But for sure, we understand maybe for first iterations that would be okay-ish. But as soon as we're done with development active stuff, we need to move to the next step. The next step would be move away our agent functionality to the backend. And you can deploy it like everywhere. Like it can be deployed in containers, and if it can be deployed in containers, this means that you can run like everywhere, like EC2, Lambda, Fargate, whatever you prefer. So we just move our backend with agent and tools to our backend, maybe to the cloud, or maybe some remote server, whatever. We can move on the next step. So for example, maybe some of our tools, like for example, Lambda functions, would be outside of my agents. And I would love to extend this functionality. And what I can do in these situations, it would be this architecture deployment. So I have like 3 components. My client app, you remember, it's where we run it. For MCP, it would be MCP host, whatever. And then I have agents running separately and some different tools. These tools can be your existing microservices. It can be your remote MCP service, what you supported. It can be some other tools inside the Lambda functions. So you can move away the tools of the functionality and super cool stuff that you can reuse the same tool for different agents. And the last way how you can run it, how you can do it, so you can extend even as local some tools. So for what reason? For example, you would need for this agent have access to local storage. That's what I show you during the MCP demo, like scanning and reviewing my Terraform code or what I have locally. So for that reason, maybe I need to run some part of the tools locally, and everything else would be on the backend side. And we are moving to the latest demo. I'm truly sorry, but it would be not live demo, it would be a pre-recording because it's take a little bit longer time and doing it live, it's a little bit difficult. So what I have, I currently showing our open source repo from AWS, and this is a sample of applications. What the sample applications is doing? It would be my AWS assistant, and this assistant can help me to understand how much money I currently spend on my AWS account. It's like my cost assistant agent, and also I have another agent which is the create a graph agent. And during this demo, I will use this 2-part of multi-agents collaboration. This is my main Py file where I define my agent. You see that I connected some resources. Also here where I define my system prompt to make sure that my agents would understand what need to do when my user would ask. Also, I have my tools, which currently calls AWS Cost Assistant. And in this Cost Assistant, I'm not rewrite from the scratch new agents. I would use just MCP client to connect to MCP server and proceed with this request related to AWS cost. So using UV, it's package manager for Python, written on Rust, very powerful, highly recommend. And what we are doing next, I just ask, can you please review my current cost inside AWS and show me the breakdowns, like how much I spent, for example, for EC2 instances or whatever, and also create a graph, like how I spend this money inside an AWS. It's not fancy graph, I totally understand, but it's like super simple library, what I use to demonstrate. And we see that I spent for Bedrock $1, for OpenSearch a little bit more. And also it's not only creates this report, you see it's also decided to double check that this HTML file exists on the file system, and the final output give me overview that I spent for OpenSearch 15, almost $16 for EC2 5 and Bedrocks, whatever, and also have access to my HTML file with this amazing graph. So I don't understand it was a lot. I know it's not, it's we had very interesting conversation yesterday in our speaker dinner that Daniel remember about previous talks, only about some motor bicycle stuff and so on. So I hope you would remember something from my talk. For that reason, I prepared a couple of QR codes where you can practice. I mean, I don't believe that you can learn something listening some Viktor or who was announced, Christoph Yamnel, I don't remember, it was said like not Viktor. So you can learn something when you do some stuff. So what we have here, so Bedrock multi-agents and implementations. We have MCP with Bedrock, strength agents, and you can try by yourself. All these links bring you to some samples, some examples where you can try doing the same stuff what I show you today during the demo, during my presentation. And as usual, it's in AWS, we truly love if you can leave some feedbacks from my presentation, just like, do you like it? This was not enough demo, it was too much demo. Speaker Viktor, you talk too fast. If you can leave your feedback, I would really appreciate. And at the end of this feedback, you also find my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I would stay here today for the whole day, or you can reach me through the LinkedIn. At the end of this CSAT score, if you can leave me 5 stars, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I hope you learned something new.